Despite the title, I want you to be successful. If you're thinking about going off grid or starting a homestead or building your own cabin, this is not meant to be a downer video. I want to give you some tips and tricks so you can succeed. Number one reason I think people fail in their off-grid dream, their dream to build a homestead, their dream to build a cabin, they underestimate themselves. They completely underestimate their abilities. Whether it be, I can't build anything, I've never done that before, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm out of shape, wait till I retire, I don't have enough money. There's nothing but excuses. It is very easy to talk yourself out of something. It's also easy to just say, I can't do it. The other thing that I see happening to people is they take lots of classes, they take courses, they read books, they ask opinions, but they never do anything. You're never, ever, ever going to learn something by talking about it, by thinking about it. You actually will learn so much more if you just try it out and you do it. If you don't know how to build, guess what? Start with a garden box, then move up to an outhouse, and then move to a shed. Like, slowly build some skills. And by doing, you will be learning and you will build your confidence. You will actually start believing in yourself. But if you just sit around and think about it forever, guess what? Nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. You better get on it. If you want this thing so badly, what are you doing to get it? How are you sacrificing to make it happen? There has to be some give and take here. You can't just sit back and wait for $1 million to fall out of the sky. You got to make it happen. Maybe you need to sacrifice your really fancy car and go get a beater so that you can move forward with your dream. Maybe you need to work 2 jobs for a while, maybe 3. Maybe you need to sell absolutely everything you have to make your dream come true. Maybe that means it's your house if that's an asset. If you really want to make this happen, sell your house, free up some cash, and go do the thing you really want to do. Like, people, I've seen it over and over, people aren't willing to do radical things to make their dream come true. Why? Because it's hard. Making big sacrifice is hard. But if you want it, you got to do it. Make it happen. The second reason you're going to fail your off-grid dream is you're not out of debt. You have to be debt-free. And I don't say that lightly. I know having debt is a hard thing to deal with. But you've got to start making a plan to be debt-free. And once you get debt-free, you have to have a plan of how you're going to stay that way. There are so many costs involved in deciding to live off-grid. First of all is the acquisition of the land. Then there's the cost of the building materials. There's the cost of the maintenance and the upkeep. The other thing to think about is the sustainability. How are you going to make a living when you get off grid or when you get on your homestead and you want to work from home? How are you going to make a living? You need to have that thought out well in advance. And don't forget, when you're debt free and you are starting to work with cash, cash talks when it comes to buying land. So when you're dealing with cash, you definitely have an advantage in the marketplace. In order to be successful, you've got to be able to suffer. You've got to learn to live in tents and campers and use an outhouse and be dirty once in a while more than you'd like. It takes a while to put the infrastructure in place. And if you want to do it out of pocket, you're going to have to suffer a little bit. First property Dave and I ever bought needed a lot of work. Just to get on the land, we needed to bring in gravel and put down typar over the permafrost. We didn't have anywhere to live there, so guess where we lived? A dome tent. We worked full-time jobs. We'd come home, work on building our cabin with our own hands, and we'd go to sleep in our dome tent. And we'd grab Subway subs, and we'd have a fire, we'd work, and we'd get up and do it all over again. Take showers in town at the laundromat. Like, you do what you have to do, because we didn't have much money. We had just enough to buy the land, we had a tent, and we had a chainsaw and a few tools. So we could start our dream. But you have to be willing to sacrifice. And if sacrificing to you is a $30,000 motorhome or camper, but you can afford to do that, that's fine. But most people can't. So if you're DIY, out of pocket, doing it the hard way, you're gonna feel it. But it's gonna feel so good. The The next reason your off-grid dream is gonna fail is because your vision was too big. You gotta start small. You gotta start with what you can afford, what you can actually do, what you can pull off. If your vision includes really expensive and complicated solar and a really unique new design that it takes engineering to pull off the things you wanna do, if you need really heavy equipment and you're just off the charts with what you wanna do, it's probably not gonna happen. The best thing you could do is build a box, an 8x12 box or a 12x12 box to start, and live in that for a while and see how it goes. Things take so much longer than you think. It's so much harder than you think. Thinking bigger than you can actually handle, they'll shut you down quick. So start small. The perfect example of the best off-grid cabin I've ever seen as far as development in time and space and money is my brother-in-law Scott's cabin. I'll put the link below if you want to check out the video where I tour his cabin and walk through the process of him slowly building up his off-grid homestead, one little piece at a time. Basically, he started with just a small, I think it was 12 by 16 cabin with a half loft, and then slowly added on as he could afford it and as his skills improved. So it's so doable to start small. You can have a vision for getting bigger, but don't start big. Start where you're at. Another reason people fail is they underestimate how much work it's going to be. Maybe all you could afford was a fixer-up property with someone else's broken dreams on it. You've got to take care of this mess and start over. It's a lot of work, whether you're building from scratch or rehabbing a place. It's so much work. And let's not forget, you've got to think about water. You've got to have water. You've got to have access. Getting in and out of there is a big deal. What about the seasons? What about year-round? How are you going to get in and out? People routinely underestimate how much work it is, and they fail. When you're looking for land, find out who the landowners are around that piece. If it's state or federal, there's always a chance there could be logging operations headed your way. Maybe the landscape could completely change. So it's good to know who owns the land around you. As a bonus though, it's really nice to have state or federal land around you. It's free land to play on. All right, the last reason that a lot of people fail with their off-grid dream, and this is a tough one, is that your spouse or partner or your kids, they're not on board. So you want this, you want it for your family or for others, but they don't really want it. And so you've got an emotional fence in your life, you've got negative energy, and that is just really a recipe for failure. So you've got to be on the same page with who you're doing it with, or it is just going to be tough. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be a struggle until everyone is in on it. It's going to be tough. So unfortunately, that is a reality. So my advice for you in that situation is get together with some friends who have that goal and that dream, and maybe you guys can all work together towards kind of like a communal dream. And then in the meantime, maybe your family will see how wonderful it is, and then they will get excited about it. But it is a tough spot to be in. And that's the only advice I have for you, is just kind of ease them into it. Well guys, hope you liked the video. I'll see you in the next one. This girl in the woods, she gone. Oh, don't forget to get outside and get happy.